Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folani. Hope you had a great weekend. Okay, bright and early on Monday, and to business. First order of the day to introduce my guests, Dr. Austin Nweze, lecturer at Pan-Atlantic University. Glad to have you, Austin.
Yeah, glad to be
And
here.
then a doctor of a different kind. He actually wields a knife. Amadele Boyo, medical doctor and social commentator. Thank you very much. The other doctor wields chalk.
Yeah,
At his blackboard.
harmless. Harmless.
So there you go. Great to have you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, so many items, but I suppose the big one is that, well, the APC sort of reconciliation train, that's very much in motion. And, well, the news is that there seem to have been heightened efforts to bring about the desired effect, which is a harmonious house, a together house, no doubt, towards the election. And by the way, as a side, there's also some information as to why the president, Mr. Femi Adesina speaking, why the president hasn't actually said he will be running, even though every Nigerian alive takes it that he will be running. But you won't hear it from the president, according to Mr. Adesina. Not yet, because saboteurs could be at work. But back to our main subject. So many points of contention that the, I believe it's the Tinubu Reconciliation Committee will have to address. The Nation this morning, puts it nicely, some of the issues in front of us, which we know already. For instance, one of the ones that we're going to have to come to terms with is the whole matter of dropping Mr. Magu as the Ibrahim Magu as the chairman nominee of the nomination for the chair of the EFCC. Senate, National Assembly wants that dropped. They'll have to look at that. Some of those things causing frictions. They say that compliance with National Assembly resolutions and invitations by the executive, that's also something that needs to be ironed out. Stoppage of alleged hounding of Senate President Saraki by anti-graft agencies. It's also on the card there, as these are things that we must look at. There are others, but just staying with those three, and maybe as we go along, just in case anybody hasn't seen the papers, but it is in all the papers this morning. Austin, what do you think? These are the areas that we knew that would be sort of a bit naughty.
Yeah, as they say in politics, in the political parlance, in politics, there's no permanent friend, and there's no permanent enemy, but permanent interests. And you can see that when it's election time, politicians start forgiving themselves of their sins, and whoever has offended, they go back. It's a natural thing, to do because of the objective ahead to win that election. And in a house that is in disarray, it will be difficult to, really win any election. And it's important that APC, come under a united house. And, the committee headed by Tinubu, if they all have a sincerity of purpose, I think they can, put aside some of their individual differences. If they care about the nation, they should be able to say, okay, for the sake of, even though for their own sake, individual interests, not for the nation, for the sake of the nation, no. Even the policies being made is not for the sake of the masses to benefit, no, it's for the self-interest. So, but again, it is important. But how successful they will be is a matter of time. Time will tell.
Okay.
But again, one of the issues about the Senate president is also, in the first place, the man has not functioned because of all this court, and he has not functioned the way he's supposed to. If not that he has able assistants around him. Sometimes I wonder how he sleeps at night. Every time you open this and this man, the same issue. Why not allow this man to function? Why not and that the judicial system is funny, and they have a way of taking this matter 10 years to come, as you never finish.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, that's hardly, you know, Amadili, that's hardly an atmosphere in which you sort of move towards
at all.
An election.
Like, yes, you don't, and the nation suffers for it. You know.
Yeah, but I would rather blame he that calls for equity must come with clean hands. I would rather blame the Senate president, because at the end of the day, if you remember, some of the rigmaroles we have in the tribunal regarding Saraki has also been because of the way they've been dragging their feet, you know, threatening the chairman of the Code of Conduct Tribunal, trying to get him out of the way, and also not coming clean. I mean, these things get complicated if people that are concerned themselves are in power and they're also trying to influence the will of justice. If you want to reconcile the president and Saraki because of elections, it is very difficult to do, because the president came in on anti-corruption stance, and Saraki has not come out plain to tell us. I mean, he has not come out plain. And the people are worried that the anti-corruption stand of the president has not been very firm, and that people are walking about the streets, and that cases are dragging too long and not getting anywhere. In fact, people are complaining that many people have been prosecuted and dealt with for corruption crimes. And it's always people that have picked 5 million, 10 million that are being taken, and not the big and the high and the mighty. So I think the Mr. President too want to make a statement that if you are guilty, we are going to deal with you. So the question really is not just the dragging of the whole thing. The question is that this APC is an amalgam of new PDP, CPC, and then the SY, even the AC, the ACN, you know. So many parties came together. And if you look at it, Saraki has his own loyalists within the APC. And there has been very, very fragmented, what you can say, no charismatic leader. Like what's happening in PDP now, that could take the party, sit everybody down. We're talking about Tinubu's committee. They've not come out with a report. If they come out with a report that, yes, this is a problem between Buhari and Saraki, then you can talk about resolving. But I believe that when this APC moves to reconcile Buhari and Saraki, I want to presume that it's based on the report of the Ashiwaju panel and others, the report of the Ashiwaju panel. Because you can't be reconciling people when the panel that was set up to reconcile, as it were, has not come out with the reasons for the disparate views and things like that. So I want to agree that the Ashiwaju panel has submitted this report to the APC, and that's why they are trying to reconcile. And if you are to reconcile, and Saraki is putting his foot down, that Magu must go. And the president is putting his foot down. That Magu must finish what he wants to do. Because if you can see everything, the president doesn't want Magu to go. It's just like Goodluck Jonathan and the SEC lady that ran a tenure without any budgetary allocation from the National Assembly. So the best way to get this thing done is the public space. A public space. It's going to be traumatic. It's going to be traumatic.
When you talk about that, when you talk about when you talk about that, you know, don't forget. I think the major cross of this matter with Saraki is the way he became Senate president. That has been.
I think that's bingo right there.
Yes,
that,
the way he became
but
Senate
since you
president,
also said that when it comes to seasons, political seasons,
they begin to forgive themselves.
They begin to look to forgive themselves, because it was almost at the time when the event, you know, transpired. It was thought to be almost unforgivable at that time.
At that time.
So I don't know.
It begins to look like a political deficit. Kind of.
I don't forget that.
So that will now have to be ironed out.
Yes.
Now, how do you iron that out? Because from one point of view, no doubt they're not using such harsh language themselves, but you can't be the beneficiary of a crime in law, and then the law will support you, right? Not that they use such harsh terminology. They'll find something much more diffused to express this thing.
But you know, to give it to Saraki, I don't know him, I don't support him. But the thing is that the National Assembly has been less cantankerous towards the presidency than I expected with all this wahala going on. Don't forget the time of Chubo Kadibo, the time of Obasanjo and all that, that they will all attempt to impeach and all that. But everything has been, you know, peaceful. Nobody has threatened to impeach anybody and all that.
So it's a doable project.
Yeah,
you know, in fact, there's no choice. You have to do this.
You have to.
People are going to
forgive. They should forgive themselves and move on.
Arrive at a reconciliation.
It's difficult, sir, because the president's platform is anti-corruption.
No,
and Saraki over the years appear. And sorry, I'm not a judge.
You can't say that. Since you said you can't be a judge. Yes. I don't think you should say what you want to say.
What do you want to say? Are you prophet? Appear to always get involved with all these things. And
tell
things
me,
like
who amongst them?
Yeah, doesn't appear to.
That doesn't appear to.
Yes, but you see, the point is.
Doesn't have.
Yeah, who amongst them?
Who amongst them?
Yeah.
I'm going to let you people continue that one. Me, I'm not going to put mouth in that.
No, but the point is that who amongst them? Who is clean?
Yeah. Now let me finish what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Let me finish what I'm saying.
It's a perception.
I'm saying that when
it's the way this young man came in
or not clean. It's a perception.
He Maradona them.
In law, that doesn't count for very much.
Yeah, but the perception about you is that you are corrupt, and the president's perception about the president is that it's an anti-corruption crusade. If you want to bring two people like that together, the people that support the president are not. They are worried about his economic policies, sir. They are worried about his economic policies. They are worried about the security issues now because of Dapchi and others. But they are not saying, okay, this guy's anti-corruption. We're going to see him fight corruption. We're going to fight corruption. Can you let charity begin from home? And so they will feel that, look, have you heard recently that the PDP guy is saying that you keep on fighting corruption with PDP people? You keep on taking Metu, you are carrying this, you are carrying that. What about your own? Remove the log in your eyes before removing the stick in somebody's eye. So the president has a battle of trying to prove that he is an anti-corruption crusader. Do you agree with that?
No, it's not about anti-corruption. I have told you. What if this young man, Saraki, had been an ordinary member of the Senate? Would this issue come up?
Saraki is not such a young man, by the way. You know, I'm sure you know. He's not such a young man.
The new demographics says that only the young people are those up to 65 years old.
Oh, okay.
So we are young people.
With that.
But in Nigeria, people below 40 are far above us. So going back to look at
the point you're making is that it's
if you had an ordinary member,
saying it's an almost intractable situation we have on our hands here because of the president's anti-corruption stance and some of the things that have happened that have not supported that, apparently coming from Senator Saraki and others quarters.
Past sins, that's what they're accusing him of, not the present sins. Nobody has been able to accuse him of present sins. Corruption that happened in the past.
Perceived corruption.
Yes. As a governor. That's what he's being charged. That's why he's in court. Not as a sitting senator.
Yes. And by the way, it's important to emphasize that's the charge.
That's the charge.
That's just the charge.
Yes.
That, of course, Saraki doesn't agree with and that hasn't been pronounced upon.
If he had been an ordinary member of the chamber, of the upper chamber, there's no way all this issue will come. But because of the way you say I shouldn't use young man. The man came in, hijack and dribbled, Maradona and everyone.
This is it.
That's all.
And I think you used the term, the political deficit of that.
Yes.
So whenever there's trust deficit or political deficit, there's always a tendency for suspicion and a tendency not to feel comfortable in the other person's presence. Because if you look at it this way, after that Maradona thing that took place in the election to the principal offices for the principal office of the National Assembly, there had been a kind of
Maradona. The Senate president, before he became Senate president, told us he slept in a car within the assembly premises overnight, and so that the following morning he was first off the bat. So that's just to explain the Maradona in case somebody is passing through Nigeria. No. In case just so that people can understand.
So at the end of the day,
he became Senate president against the will of his party.
And to have opposition to become his deputy.
And then cause the
opposition to become a
the opposition to become the deputy Senate president.
It has never happened.
Those are the things that are on ground that now have to be resolved. You can say a lot of water has passed under the bridge, but in terms of being a member of the ruling APC, and if you want, inner caucus, and still at loggerheads, well, we don't know that they are loggerheads because they don't say as much. We can only
move to reconcile. Because they move to reconcile.
One time I was coming from airport and I'm coming from Abuja, and we were in the same taxi. I was same and then he gave me a ride.
Okay.
The nephew to Anthony.
The same Mr. Fix-It?
Yeah, Mr. Fix-It. His nephew.
This man is
okay.
Gave me a ride.
He's having a ride with nephews of big men.
So I said, why are they always quarreling, all these politicians? He said, who and who is quarreling? In the public, they appear to be quarreling. That his uncle, all the people you say they are fighting, will be drinking pepper soup with those people they are fighting over.
Okay.
Politicians.
So there's that other aspect to Nigerian political life.
Yes.
There's the public facade.
Yeah, they seem to be fighting, but nobody is fighting anything.
But this one is real. The president is an anti-corruption crusader. Are you getting me? And I want to continue to take us back to that. And the public perception of Saraki, whether it was past, present, or future sins, is that this man is corrupt. Now, people are saying that the president has not dealt well with Minor, with the grass cutter, and with all those people that have been corrupt. And the president, in the next 6 months, has to prove himself to be an anti-corruption crusader. He's going back to the electorate. Is he going to talk about security? He's going to talk about the economy? He's going to talk about corruption. And if you're going back to the electorate with that, people will say, listen, clean your house.
Well, so it's going to be about compromises.
Yes, that's
going to be about compromises.
Politics is all about compromise.
It's going to be difficult to compromise with an anti-corruption.
It is not. There's nothing.
They would be very careful about selecting or choosing what to compromise
Have you read
on.
about INEC saying that if you have a case with EFCC, you're not going to get election form?
That's why they are waiting for some of them. It's good for us, so that you know.
They're not going to get anti-corruption form.
It's good for somebody like me.
If you have a case with EFCC, don't come to us to get an election form. Not about the money.
They are waiting for you at that end, so they don't come back to the.
So all these dynamics playing out, the APC still needs a tight house, a harmonious house, if it's to go to the election with any hope of success.
There are no two ways about it. You know, because the point is that they need to reconcile. 4 years or 3 years is a long time to keep having this issue, acrimony, and all that.
Well, and it does go to the very foundations of the party.
You're handing over the opponent. If you don't reconcile, if you don't reconcile, you're handing over this into to SDP, not even PDP. You know, so you hand it over to SDP.
And Saraki would appear to have dug in.
Of course,
it's the only way to survive. There's no alternative to this.
Sorry, sir, it's difficult to survive if the INEC says if you have a case with the EFCC, you're not getting an election form. And this election form will be taken this year. In the next few months, you're going to apply for election form.
No, but now, they will go to court to challenge INEC.
INEC to say if you have a case
they
with
will
the
challenge.
All right.
They will challenge. You know, because where is it in the Constitution?
It's not matter where it is in the Constitution. The point is
you
that
have a case. Does not mean that you've been convicted.
You've been
convicted.
You now have sleepless nights because you are going to go to court over this.
Yeah, you go to court.
Maybe, you see, it's very interesting that we're talking about this like this because this is what the reconciliation, I suppose, you know, has to really circumvent or prevent.
Yes.
There must be other ways than the ways you are saying, which are the hardline ways. But if you don't give any, then I'm going to come back this way. So how do we remove all of those is
what the ruling party is trying to do.
Tinubu or whoever, those guys that are moving APC to this reconciliation with Buhari, Saraki, and others. And I imagine that among those others is also Ashwaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu himself.
Yes.
Because that's a major key person that needs to be reconciled, first of all. And he cannot be reconciled without taking care of his own interests.
What are his interests?
For me to do this kind of job, I have interests. You have to find out, Saraki has told you his own interest. Remove that case against him, then he can this thing.
An anti-corruption crusader won't remove that case.
He will remove it.
The only way is what Uriah said. If the ruling party
he will remove it.
Listen, what legislators, you see, the EFCC is an arm of the executive. And when you see such a thing like that, the legislators tend to feel, oh, they're out for us. They are out for us. They want to stop us from contesting. And then immediately the next thing is, have you remembered how the budget is being stalled and so many things are being stalled? That's why the ruling party is trying to reconcile them. Like what Obasanjo was saying, it's a family affair. If the ruling party can reconcile them at the back, maybe then INEC could drop those things. But to go to court,
You see, I don't like the way Doctor put it.
Yeah.
If they can reconcile them behind the
Yes,
scenes,
yeah.
What does reconcile behind the scenes mean?
that is family affair.
Oh, there
It's
you go.
always done
There
there.
you
That's what
go.
they're trying to do here.
And
Which is what you said before.
And no anti-corruption
Crusader.
crusader is going to be down with that.
Yes.
This is so. This
One is this.
So-
This is not a military rule. It's politics, and politics is give and take.
Yeah.
Senator Arthur Nzerebe, I hope he's still...
Yes.
Yes. He said something that politics is, you scratch my back, I scratch your back.
Not for an anti-corruption
No,
crusader.
what does it? It's not a military era where you can. He has a fiat to do anything as anti-corruption crusader.
Maybe I've forgotten what I
But
said
the
before.
point is that
Gentlemen, you-
this
Buhari is
is-
going back on he has lost two platforms, economy, security. They are shaking now. The only other platform he has is corruption. If he's going to campaign from July, August, September this year, he's going to campaign as, back as an anti-corruption crusader.
And then there will be questions.
There'll be
that
questions
might
that-
be
yeah,
difficult
that will
to
be difficult for
answer.
There are more
If-
other important people to be queried or query him of than even Saraki that is not in the executive.
But one
Starting
point,
from this
gentlemen.
executive, yeah, there are more important people in this executive to be queried about corruption.
Yeah, but
And not someone in the Senate.
But one other point, gentlemen, do you guys think that all that you've been discussing are the political aspects of it and how the negotiations shall go, the maneuvering, the strategy, and all of that? But the core of it, going back to what is really strangling this country at the moment, which is corruption, and that's what the president arrived on. He arrived on that particular platform. All of these political devices to create soft landings will be compromising that perception of a man of
Anti-corruption crusader.
anti-corruption crusader, no nonsense, whatever. Even though presidents before him, like Obasanjo, just said that I will step on whatever toes need to be stepped on. But somehow we believed it with Buhari. But now, unfortunately, Buhari has this problem in front of him. He was not to know at the time when he was coming on board that Senate President Saraki would pull the kind of stunt that he pulled and sleep in the National Assembly overnight and therefore beat everybody to it. And before you knew what was happening, the man was in place. How do you how do you come out of that in terms of the political arguments that you guys have explained? Very valuable, it explains things to us. But in terms of what kind of an animal are you? Are you the kind of person who will say you're an anti-corruption crusade, and then when the heat comes down, you say, okay, for now, let me leave that, let me leave that part of it. The president will lose a lot of sympathizers if that came to pass in the interest of no permanent foes, no permanent friends.
Now, let me first say that, look, the negotiation, what they'll put on the table, the real negotiation will be, if you say Magu should stay,
yes,
Saraki must be forgiven all his sins. I suspect that's going to happen.
For example,
yeah,
yes.
for example.
Yes.
Okay, but if he's insisting on Saraki going, Magu will also go. That could be what will play out. But again, don't forget those that constitute the National Assembly. There is nobody there that only a handful could be innocent of, what we are saying about corruption.
Well, we see,
It's
technically, we don't know about that.
We don't know.
But
what I'm saying that we don't know. But again, I say there's a possibility that, those at the National Assembly, are also guilty of the corruption. And that could also, but the point that, you're saying you're fighting corruption, that word, fight. I mean, when you say, when I tell you I'm going to fight you, what do? You prepare. If they could have changed that word.
You don't soften these matters.
Change it to what?
You've got to call it
corruption.
the way it is, if it is corruption.
We're advocating...
Anti-corruption dancer or anti-corruption embracer.
Part of the problem
when you say...
is that when you refuse to call a spade, it is part of corruption.
No. Yeah, there's a way, there's psychology of that. Psychological aspect of it.
Okay.
Because one is that you need to work on the psychology of these people. Okay? Because it's only poor people with poor mentality that will be interested in this corruption thing. So why don't you begin to reorientate, begin to talk to them using psychology?
Okay. Mr. George, thank you for calling in. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling.
And good morning to the panelists.
Good morning.
Uncle Yori, Dr. Nweze said something that Saraki has not been given the space to operate.
Yes.
That's what I understood from his statement.
He said that.
I'm sorry to say that is not true. It is Saraki that has not given this government the enabling space to operate. You do not, just as people often say that you do not negotiate with terrorists. You don't negotiate with an enemy that you know cannot forgive. You trash out the issue. What is at play is not a forgivable thing in politics. There is no guarantee that the damage that Saraki has done to the government and the APC can be repaired before the next election. It is irreparable as far as that one is concerned. And look at the condition he's given, that you should drop the only person that is helping the president to fight his corruption agenda. He said you should drop him so that they can pick a weekly. I am a supporter of the president, and I'm supporting him because of his anti-corruption stance. He's the only president that has come out and said, I want to kill corruption in Nigeria. If he drops Mangu, he will indirectly drop that principle, and I will not support him again, for one. So the issue of dropping Mangu as a precondition should just be forgotten. The president will not, I trust him, he will not agree.
All right then. Well, thank you very much for calling in, which underlines what, who said it? That was Amadeli. Yeah. That, look, that's the president's plank. What is it to go to the campaign ground with?
And don't forget that, you know, they intentionally put it there. Saraki is not alone in this matter.
No.
He has his members,
No. It's Saraki, others. Yes. You know, how to reconcile Buhari, Saraki, and others.
Yes. So for them to table it as part of the conditions.
But you probably agree with Mr. George's point that so many things, so many handles, the president has so many handles and you choose your own. Those that have chosen his anti-corruption stance, if that is taken away, if that is lost, if that is no more an authentic plank.
But I'm still saying that
he loses a lot of people.
Yeah, Saraki's own is not, you check out the currency of the matter. That's what I keep saying.
Okay,
the currency of the matter. Yeah, yes. The issues are they
committed? You saying that the statute of limitation should have taken care of some things, and therefore
the corruption statute of limitation doesn't exist.
The statute of limitation doesn't exist in certain.
You see, the point I keep going is that the way he came in as Senate president, that is other things are symptoms.
Okay,
that the main cause.
One moment, please, Madam Josephine. Good morning.
Uncle Yori, good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
And your guest.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm so enjoying this, your program.
Thank you.
Yes, the president, did you see why the president cannot succeed in this corruption fight? Because the people that brought him into power, they are corrupt. There's no way you can fight your guy. Mali cannot fight corruption when it's corruption that brought him to power. All of them, Tinubu is the one controlling Lagos. He's still collecting huge amounts of pension. All of them that brought Buhari into power, they cannot allow him to fight corruption. We need an independent candidate and people like mine that want to salvage this country, not the same elite that will bring them, because there's no way you can bring them out. And I want to disagree with George. George is saying, Saraki, you cannot negotiate with terrorists. You cannot negotiate with pastors. By the time that he come from PDP to bring everything to power, you did not say it's corrupt. You did not say it's bad. They did not keep their house into order. At least the man has emerged. Allow him to be.
Madam,
you refuse to let him be. That is why things are lingering. Madam, if you come in the platform, everybody give their own support. Everybody, they gain power. You should let things go so that you can work.
Madam Josephine, what Mr. George was saying was that he disagrees that Senate President Saraki hasn't been giving the space to work. He said his own impression is that it is Saraki himself that has not given himself peace and space to work.
It's a lie. Is it the only one? Is it the only him that is the past governor? There are many past governors that is there. Why is he only him that they are bringing case?
Okay.
What? case now because he violated their law. They did and they did not agree to let him be. That is why they are having challenge. It's part of them. This is the camp and make them to be in power. They should allow him be. Our president cannot fight corruption. I'm telling you, he cannot fight unless they bring independent candidates that will come on his own.
Okay.
Corrupt elite will not allow this country work. I'm telling you, Uncle Yori, that is what we want. Independent candidates. They should put it into law so that we vote somebody that we fight corruption without them, because they are the one that bring him. They will not allow him to fight it. Look at Amechi, look at all of them. They supported him with corrupt money. So there's no way that he can fight it. He will do for nothing any time they vote him.
Okay, Madam Josephine. Thank you very, very much. You've made your point.
She's asking for a Trump solution.
Wait a minute.
An independent candidate without...
Fine.
Yes.
Let me take this out of her presentation. She is saying that you have to be very careful about no one man can walk into power on his own.
Yeah.
You've got to have
That's
associates, supporters,
That's
and so on.
right.
So now, what she seems to be, what I understood from what she is saying is that if the people that help bring you to power are not all angels, then the fact that they're not all angels is going to compromise you. So don't be saying you're going to do angelic things when you arrive, because you didn't have angels help you into office.
There's sense in that, because it's even from the Wednesday school.
Okay, let's go on a break.
It's from Wednesday school
on this angelic, let's go on a break, but stay right there, please. We'll be right back and we'll continue this conversation. Okay, welcome back, and Dr. Austin Weze is with us, lecturer at Pan-Atlantic University, and Dr. Dr. Omadeli Boyo. He's a medical doctor and a social commentator. And, well, Josephine called in and quite angry that we have a situation on our hands here where she doesn't see how we're going to move forward. Tracing the source of this to how all of these officers, including the president, arrived. They arrived with help.
Yes.
They arrived with help. And as I was, joking and paraphrasing, if they weren't angels, then her point of view is that you can't be promising angelic things having been helped by people who were not exactly angels. You cannot divorce yourself from them. And therefore, all of this is going to lead to complications in how we go about reconciling, as one paper puts it, Buhari, Saraki, and others.
Yes. And if you look at it, the president is going to go to the electorate in a few months' time to campaign, and people are going to ask for his political capital. You have not been, as it were, in the mind of the average person successful with the economy, because what people look at as success in the economy is cost of living.
Don't forget the angelic thing and the Wednesday philosophy. And the Wednesday philosophy.
You people like that. You like that angelic one.
I like it.
You like it.
I love it.
At the end of the day, people are going to also look with the Dapchi students kidnapped. People are going to say insecurity, and the Fulani headsmen. People are going to say insecurity abounds. Economy.
So you're saying
problem.
Corruption is the only thing he has left.
And if the president wants to win the election now, regardless of those that are brought into power, he has to stand on the anti-corruption issue.
Okay.
But the question is this: has he built enough political capital to be able to stand on that? Because if he's going to revert to these people to assist him, and you rubbish them, they will likely not come to assist you.
Bio has been waiting.
Alone.
Thank you very much for holding on, Bio. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for calling in. Please go ahead.
Yeah. My opinion is that the president has no choice but to continue with his fight against corruption, no matter what, because that is the only thing he has left. The fight
against insecurity. He has lost, actually, the integrity, especially when you consider the Middle Belt. Security in the Northeast, he has a pass mark, in spite of the dark cheat. When it comes to economy, I don't think our economy is actually in the direct shape the way.
Maybe I've lost him.
Thank you very much for calling in, Bayo. The line went bad, and before that, it was crystal clear. But again, the part of Bayo's speech that we did
In
get
line with what I said.
was that it is this corruption that the president
So
is
they
not
use for his
compromised
campaign.
on in our eyes for now.
But that's the only thing he has left.
Yes.
Okay.
You
Last
know.
card.
Well,
Last guy.
well, as people talk, no doubt the president's men are not going to agree with that. He has much more than that, but that's because there are none of those president's men here. I just thought we should say that. They are recording successes beyond, you know, the fight against corruption.
There was something Bayo said, which the line didn't allow him to conclude. That the fact that the economy is not at the dire state as people see it. That was, I think, no, that was the last thing I heard.
That what?
That the economy is not in such a dire state.
Yes, he said that.
Yeah,
he said as
I
much.
heard,
It's
before
not
the
as
line
bad
was-
as people are painting it. you
painting
know.
it, yeah.
Yes, he did say that. But let me bring in Mr. Olayinka in Ikorodu. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Yori.
Yeah.
Good morning, the gentlemen.
Good morning.
Morning.
Yeah. If you look at the speech of the president, right from the day of his inauguration, you will understand me very well that the president has got it wrong right from the day of reception. Getting what wrong? Apart from the fact that the last woman that called mentioned Governor Tinubu that they are corrupt, no court in this country has ever indicted Chief Tinubu that is corrupt. So, but what I'm saying, what I'm saying today is
Mr. Olayinka,
the president has lost it.
You said the president got something wrong. I didn't get that part.
If you look at his speech during his inauguration, he said I belong to Obo, nobody and I belong to everybody.
Okay. I understand what you're talking about now.
There was no particular policy that he want to do, that he want to embark on when he got the power. Now, when he got the power, people like people like Kameshi, they are corrupt, they are there. They have been that those people have been indicted by their various states.
Why are you
and they are
saying
still
these
in the
things?
executive. If you say you want to fight corruption and you cannot fight the internal corruption and you are looking elsewhere, you are not fighting corruption.
Okay.
So now about the security in Nigeria today has collapsed already. So what are we now saying? So the man should please go. We are tired of him.
All right, then. Mr. Olayinka, thank you very much. But you see, the way we usually do, we just really would like callers to be as circumspect as they can be.
And objective.
And objective, too. You know, we don't censor, but you can't be saying certain things on air. For instance, Mr. Olayinka actually said some people were corrupt, and Mr. Olayinka is not a chief judge or, you know. So what we're saying is that we try to conduct our conversations, you know, as much as we can within the ambits of the law and our decency. We can't call a person corrupt if a person hasn't been convicted of corruption, even though we do say those things. People try to ameliorate it by putting a word perceived in front of it, but just to make the point that we're not very happy, even if we can't prevent it, we're not very happy when people speak that carelessly about people who are not here to defend themselves.
And nobody would be happy to. You wouldn't be happy if you had spoken
who are not
about
here to
like
defend
that.
themselves.
Yes,
you know.
that's true.
And in effect, it really becomes the opposite of a truism. It is not true that because there's no authority to say that X is corrupt or Y is corrupt. Yeah. That doesn't mean we can't have conversations on them.
Yes.
Yeah.
But back to what we were saying, you could see that the only plank the populace, the everyday man on the street is holding on now is the anti-corruption crusade.
And Buhari cannot lose that.
Yeah, and the
and
president is going to
let
campaign
Saraki have
around
his
the
way,
country. He's going to campaign around the country from maybe September, October, and people are going to ask him how far.
Yes, and if he says, okay, because Saraki's Senate, National Assembly, not Saraki's really, but the National Assembly doesn't want Magu, therefore, in the interest of compromise and all of that, Magu step aside for a while.
Oh, yeah.
That will be suicidal.
And let me tell you this, it's possible that the president...
Although we also hear people saying that, what are you talking about? Is Magu the only person able to do this job? No.
It may not be the only
Nobody
person.
is saying
You see, at the end of the day, people in power tend to have more information than each one of us here. And there's every tendency that he has found that this man is efficient. And beyond that, is not to bow.
Not beyond being efficient.
No, I'm coming to
someone you can trust.
Someone you can trust.
Because you work with those that you can trust.
And beyond that, you don't want to drop a man because the people that is pursuing, people that is investigating and insisting you should drop him. It doesn't sound right. Okay, you can drop a man because you know he's corrupt or you know he's inefficient, but not because people that is investigating.
Because of political compromise.
Yes.
Yakub Ndokwemu, good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Chief Yori.
Thank you for calling.
And good morning to your guests.
Good morning.
Excuse me. Chief Yori, I think I dare disagree with last caller, which is Mr. Olayinka, and then Mrs. Josephine. As far as I'm concerned, yes, they have rights to their various opinion, and then I have my own opinion as well. But my own opinion is this. Number one, I quite agree with George. Mr. President should never drop Magu or because he wants to settle with Senate President and all that. Reason being that in terms of corruption, it has been done very well. Has done very good job. Because if you not drop Magu today, why is it not dropping it last 2-3 years? So that they will not fight him stand still. Why am I disagree with Olayinka is this? He mentioned 2 people in that cabinet. He mentioned Fayemi and then he mentioned Anochi. I think all those indictments from their various states is a political indictment. There is any court jurisdiction that pronounce them corrupt. You cannot call somebody corrupt that this one is corrupt, that one is corrupt. Without no court pronouncing it. Somebody say Tinubu Jagaban is corrupt. Where is the court that pronounces Tinubu as a corrupt person? We should all mind the way we address the issue, as you rightly said in the studio there, because all these people that are mentioned, no one that court has been able to pronounce a corrupt. So after saying that, I want to say, Mr. President should never drop Magu because we want to settle down with the Senate President. Let the fighting continue. If God said Mr. President is going to come back, it will. If God says he's not going to come back, it will not. And then Mrs. Josephine mentioned independent candidacy. She forget that if you get to that president, you get the president ticket. You are still going to work with the people. You cannot work as independent candidate. And then are you telling me all the senators that are going to get the ticket, they are going to be independent? It can never happen. We are going to manage ourselves. Magu should keep the fighting going until we finish this dispensation. And then I'm for Mr. President. If Olayinka is tired of him, he should say he is personally tired of Mr. President. Hi, Yakubu and the rest of people that love Mr. President, we are not tired of him. We are still going to vote for him. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you very much for calling in.
This guy is declaring a fight.
Yeah. Anyway,
I think we've said, quite frankly, not being part of their committees, we've said about as much as we can say. Both, we've heard from one side, we've heard from the other. But corruption is the big problem that Nigeria, if you could take out the problem of corruption, what we're doing now is that we're managing. We're just managing. Because Mr. President knows that, look.
Corruption is a symptom
of a deeper cause.
Yes.
A hidden cause.
Yes. First of all, that we have to ask, why are people corrupt?
Why are people corrupt?
Yeah.
Oh, Austin, you want to put philosophy and psychology on top of this whole thing. Because why are people thieves? Wait a minute. Why are people thieves?
Now,
why are people thieves?
But let me quickly bring in view of using technology to solve the problem.
Let me bring Benga in Abuja. I'm coming back to you, sir.
Yes.
Good morning, Benga. In Abuja, Benga.
Good day, Mr. Yori.
Good day, sir.
And good day, the gentleman there.
Good day.
Yes.
Yeah, you see, if you look at the performance of the president from the inception, he has performed above average. Insecurity, no matter what anybody say about Boko, about Fulani herdsmen, I gave him 7/10. Because we have been able to do, be able to do some things, especially in the area of Southwest. All those people troubling Lagos, kidnapping Obas and the rest, they have been put to rest. Evans, the billionaire, the most A-rated kidnapper have been kidnapped. Have been arrested. And if we look at the whole of South, all the oil bunkering, all those piracy have been brought low. The issue of herdsmen is a long-time issue, which I believe it will not leave this regime without finishing it.
Yeah,
and
but
Boko Haram, the only thing we had is this dark sheet kidnap, which is an embarrassment. But the government have promised to bring them back.
yeah, but Benga, we're talking about the reconciliation move and some of the knotty problems that will have to be untied, such as, for instance, what we're hearing from newspapers is that drop Magu, for example. Yes. How can the president agree to that?
Well, I don't believe that news. I don't believe it.
Okay.
And I'm telling you that the vice president said it about a week ago, that nobody would drop Magu. And I cannot believe that the president will work against that just a week or two, no matter the level of compromise or negotiation.
Okay.
So what I see is that the president do not want the General Assembly to put a clause in his will of progress.
Exactly.
There are a lot of things they want to do this year to cover up for the lost grant. There was nothing implemented in 2016.
That's why they need to tidy what you've just said is why APC, the ruling party, needs to tidy its house. It realizes that. And that's what we're in the middle of now. So we're looking at how doable a job it is with these disparate forces, diametrically opposite interests. How did they all come back together and carry on as one unified family that will take any election they go to?
But let me tell you, Mr. Yori, the National Assembly is a third force. People are looking for third force in Nigeria. It's a third force of itself. It's a party of itself. Saraki has been able to create his own party National Assembly. There's no level of negotiation or compromise that will make him to drop or to pipe low. He has an agenda. But what the president wants to do is to kind of minimize it. They can't get it all. There's nothing that they will promise him or what to do that will appease Saraki to make him to kind of cooperate 100% with the president.
Well, Saraki has said, if you've seen the news, he has said that he and his colleague in the House of Reps are going to endeavor to be on the same page going into these conversations. Let me just use that word.
They will be on the same page, as he said, but I'm telling you that what has happened and what is happening in National Assembly is just a kind of say, okay, let's just do something to make sure that this government perform. But the agenda of Saraki and Dogara, there's no way, because let me tell you what at National Assembly. National Assembly is a party of itself. And there's no way at this stage now that Dogara or Saraki will now say, okay, let's now drop all these things.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that the piece they are working on, the common everyone, is just to make it okay, let us in Nigeria, let's show that something is happening. But it's not 100%.
Okay.
There's still trouble ahead.
All right.
I will tell you.
Thank you very much for calling in, Benga. And to just point out, the National Assembly is not a party of itself. But it is the doctrine of separation of powers. Yeah. They jealously guard their powers. Yeah. And maybe that's what led to seeing them as a party of their own.
How did they get to that level? To be so united, you know, and which is what the executive is also lacking. In the sense that as a practitioner of negotiation, as a student of negotiation, when you are negotiating with people, that too contentious this thing, you may bring another element, throw it in, that is outside of. Okay, assuming that Magu and Saraki are the two main, why don't you throw in the third thing that could be acceptable to all of them so that there'll be a common ground? okay, outside of Magu, outside of Saraki.
Like what?
As a compromise.
Like what?
Okay? They could
Like
come up
what?
with something.
Like what?
That they could say, okay, what if we do this? They should think.
They have to think about, but
Yes,
you
I
see,
think
we're all going to be
that
watching.
is
I think you guys have really nailed it on the head when you've pointed out that President Buhari, anti-corruption guy, stopping the word that has been used, the pursuit of perceived corrupt people to come and answer to the charges, stopping all of that is not going to go down well with the masses.
No, yeah, nobody is saying that you should stop and all that.
Yes.
But you should make allowance. And another thing that will bring every interest.
A mechanism, a resolution mechanism.
You've got to compromise. That word. You talk
that's
political
negotiation.
It's negotiation. Mazi Okoroafo in Arochukwu, good morning, sir.
Good morning, our guests in the studio. Honestly speaking, Mr. Ayodisi, if we stop recycling, that's another way forward. You see, we have to go to leave. You saw what Trump did. 24 hours to SD Deputy Director. What happened? He fired him. Look, people are talking about corruption. Honestly, Magu has done a lot. Magu must stay because Magu is serving as a striker. Because when you are playing a match with your opponent and you didn't get a good striker to get good, you fail. So that's Magu is serving as a striker. If you take the billions the honorable members are packing, and you ask yourself, can any of them come to the screen or this your screen now and sit down here and tell us, from quarter to this is how much I spent to my people, nobody will come there. So I'm challenging any of them, let them come to this screen and come and tell us, this will help Nigeria to know exactly. Honestly, talking about Magu, I don't know why people are about it. Just anything you are doing, you are not getting people who are criticizing, you are not doing anything. So criticism must come. Nigeria should have a leap to do what? To absorb criticism, because without criticism, you cannot move forward. Magu must stay. In short, if I have my signature, I will just endorse it for him to continue.
Thank you very much for calling in.
The point I was trying to, just before, let me wrap it up. Sure. You know, the executive need salesmanship skill, interpersonal skill.
You also asked the question, why are they as tight as they are in the National Assembly? And you suggested that the executive is lacking in such tightness.
Because they lack that salesmanship skill. To be able to sell your idea.
Or is it salesmanship? Or cohesion? There's a theme that is allowing for cohesion in the National Assembly,
whereas in the legislature, they are unable to foster cohesion.
I tell you this, you must always consider the other person's what is in need for them. People always, no matter the decision, no matter what, when you're selling something, yes, if you want people to drop corruption, they will ask you, if I drop corrupt practices, what else can I do? You sell a new thing to him.
Okay.
Like in Russia.
You are talking about the art of negotiation.
Yeah.
The art of the negotiation.
You need to. Yes. You need to really find out what's the need for the other person.
But not at your expense.
Gerald in Abuja, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yeri.
Thank you for calling in, sir.
Dr. Nweze and the other erudite guest.
Dr. Boyo.
Dr. Koyo.
Boyo.
Let me take off from what the point Dr. Nweze is making.
Okay.
He says, he's an expert and a student of negotiation. I am not an expert. I am even a distant student. I'm not enrolled in any school of negotiation. But please, if I get his point, it is get a neutral, agreeable subject, which means remove Magu, bring somebody a bit more acceptable to the Senate. Then what are we talking about? As a non-student, I do know that if I engage Dr. Nweze as expert to go and negotiate for me, there are certain things he will want to negotiate away. On the rest or principal subject matter, we say, Oga, if you negotiate this one away, I'm finished. No, I will not agree to this one. The point is this. Please, so what happens?
Okay, your point taken. Sorry for rushing you. I've run out of time. But I take your point, and we all heard it. They're really rushing us now. We completely...
Yeah, but I didn't say remove Magu.
No,
I said there's something...
Some other things.
That is common, that masses, the masses' interests and their own interests.
There is that difference between what you said and what he
Yes, I didn't say remove Mago.
Maybe bring another subject matter that will be of equal interest.
Keep Mago,
for example.
Keep this guy, but bring another thing of equal interest.
Yes. Which may not be defensible at the election.
Okay, so gentlemen, that's about it. I've got to leave it there. I've completely run out of time. My apologies, because I know Omadele has a whole lot more to say. But thank you very much, Omadele Boyo, medical doctor and social commentator, and Austin Wenze, academic doctor, lecturer, Pan-Atlantic University. Thank you, gentlemen, for sharing your perspectives. Okay, so that's our program. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition at 10:30 in the morning. I'm Yori Folani. Bye-bye for now.